Welcome to another episode of Inspired Content. We're in a week full of TV episodes and short films. And this week's episode is the complete series of Crusade from Babylon 5 universe. So I'm going to take a look at the first couple episodes of this one and give my thoughts and feelings on it, and then see what ideas it inspires. So I'll see you on the other side of that. Alright, for Crusade. It's been a while since I've seen Babylon 5, so I don't know if it really all would feel that same level of trying a little hard and a little too cardboard for some of it. But I mean, it was still a decent couple of episodes, and I like the premise of it. It's a slightly different spin for Babylon 5 than the stationary ship, or stationary station. It's a little more adventure seeking and exploration kind of show, and it has some potential. It's unfortunate that they canceled the series before they really got to go too far with it, but as for ideas that it inspired for me, instead of having a whole planet that's infected and the people who weren't there at the time seeking a cure for the whole planet, what if an infection was released in pockets intending for it to spread, but the people caught it in time and were able to quarantine just the infected population and put them aboard ships and threw them away out into space to deal with their own problems. The idea of sort of space leper colonies almost, as they travel through space looking for resolution to their problem. I like the idea of like a change occurring within the world military, such that the new leaders and the new military personnel are so vastly different that the old school of leader, he has no place in it anymore, and so he's sort of retired out and he's sent off to whatever he's supposed to do afterwards, but don't do it here, we don't want you here. And you know, the crew would be other last people, last of a species, the last of the telepaths who haven't been conscripted into sort of like a servant class or caste system, the last of the people who use thinking machines, AI, the just sort of like all the people who are left behind when the rest of society changes. These are the last of the people that remain for each of those groups, and sort of build a crew of these last people, and they don't work well together because they're not the same group. The only thing they have in common is they don't have any more of their own kind anymore. They're all just kind of cast-offs. Okay, it's not really covered much, but it seems like the xenoarchaeologist in the series here, he makes me think of House from the TV program House, Dr. House, and I can't help but feel it would be an interesting way to go to have a series that follows this sort of self-righteous, abrasive scientist out exploring the universe and solving mysteries of that sort. a group that travels through dead empires, salvaging tech and biology from lost civilizations or failed colonies, different aliens that they encounter, wreckages of ships, and patchwork together a sort of colony ship for themselves. And just sort of like this kludged together ship and crew exploring the universe, finding new things to use in new ways. I kind of would like to see a cyberpunk setting set maybe on Earth, Mars colony with maybe a few asteroid mines and maybe an attempt at like a scientific outpost on some of the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, and some floating colonies in Venus, but have the setting not just that, but have the equivalent of a techno mage and the psi users, and do it so that it's sort of a cyberpunk setting with mages and psychics, and it's bordering on Shadowrun, but not quite. I want it to kind of have a little bit of that Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon feel to the solar system, planetary system, but at the same time have that Shadowrun feeling for the races and classes of character, and do it all with an overtone of cyberpunk. I think that would be... I'm going to have to play with that a little bit. And then take this concept and translate it over into a fantasy where a plague is wiping out a third of the world population, and it's getting worse, and there's sort of an effort to put together a crew of people who will use a fleet of ships that they will use to cross into other planes like heaven and hell and other realities, the realm of the Fae, all sorts of things like that, where they travel into these in search of artifacts and mystical beings, anything that might solve this problem. And I think it's sort of like an Odyssey type story, like the Iliad and the Odyssey, but it's definitely a whole world catastrophe is happening. This is the edge of humanity, where it's now or never that we're going to save the planet. But it's fantasy with all the aspects of the Iliad and the Odyssey. Anyway, those are some of the ideas I had. I hope you found some inspiration in some of them, and then I'll see you for the next episode.